Well, hello there. Welcome to season 11 of the Gospelovergimmicks podcast. Today, I got some explaining to do. I'm sure y'all read the title of this episode and was like, what? Let me explain. Let's get after it. Hello there, and welcome back to the Gospelovergimmicks podcast. I'm your host, Richard Stormy Norman, here to tell everything I know and some things I highly suspect. Of course, different setting today. Different setting. We'll talk about that in a minute. But I thought we'd switch things up. I got a new microphone. I paid probably too much money for it. It was on sale, but it's not as loud as I wish it would be. But we'll see what it sounds like when I run it through the editor, and maybe I can bump the volume up a little bit. Who knows? But today we're going to talk about the final season of Gospelovergimmicks, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. And it's not quite what you think it is, probably, but just hang in there a little bit. It looks like it's about to rain outside. For your Florida weather update, it was hot. Went with my dad earlier to pick up a lawnmower someone gave him. It was hot out there. It was quite hot out there. But now I'm sitting in the AC looking out the window. It looks like it's about to storm. The wind's picking up quite a bit. Anyway, appreciate y'all joining me today. Thought we'd mix it up, but we'll probably it's probably gonna be a little bit different. Obviously, it's gonna be a little bit different of a podcast episode today because I'm sitting in my reclining chair instead of at the desk. I think Coco wants to come join us. You might have read the thumbnail or the title of the video and thought, oh no, what's he doing? Well, we're going to talk about that today. But first, we're going to read some Bible. We're going to go to Ecclesiastes. Chapter number 3, one y'all know. Pretty sure y'all know this pretty good. This is the Bible. Now, I've told y'all about this one before, the Genuine Leather, Thomas Nelson, verse by verse, single column. And I take this to church every Sunday. It's starting to get broke in pretty good. But my Bible collecting days are basically over at this point. The way, love church Bible publishers, but their prices have just gotten absolutely ridiculous. It's like they're selling their Bibles for like Allen and Schuyler prices and Cambridge prices, and I'm like, you're not at that level. Like, I like your Bibles, but you're not worth Cambridge money. You know what I'm saying? They posted one up. I got the email for the Top Grain Cowhide Note Takers Friday or Thursday, I think it was, and they want like $200 something for that thing. I'm like, no, I don't think so. Like, your leather might be good, but you're still using the same paper. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, I don't want to get off on that. Ecclesiastes chapter number 3, verses 1 through 8. To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under the heaven. A time to be born, and a time to die. A time to plant, and a time to pluck up that which is planted. A time to kill, and a time to heal. A time to break down, and a time to build up. A time to weep, and a time to laugh. A time to mourn, and a time to dance. A time to cast away stones and a time to gather stones together. A time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing. A time to get and a time to lose. A time to keep and a time to cast away. A time to rend and a time to sow. A time to keep silence and a time to speak. A time to love and a time to hate. A time of war and a time of peace. So, it's like Solomon's saying there in Ecclesiastes, life is all about change, and nothing is really supposed to be permanent. Now, some things we want to be permanent, but even in the grand scheme of things, when you look at it from the point of view of eternity, it's not really permanent. So, sometimes God calls you to do something, and you do it, and then, if you're a pastor, you probably know this. God calls you to pastor a said church. You pastor that church for however many years, and then maybe someday God calls you to go pastor a different church or to go into the mission field or something of that sort. We probably all know people like that, maybe in our lives. But I've told the story before. Back in 2015, I started going to college at Liberty because I was just tired of life. Like mundane. I go to a job I don't like every day, and I'm like, I should go to school and do something, which turned into something else entirely. But I was like, what do I want to do? Because I was going to go to school to be IT, because the local community college. I'm looking at their class offerings, and that's really the only thing they got that I'm interested in. And so I was going to do that. Then I was like, what if I just went to college for something I'm interested in? Instead of what I think is going to make me the most money, what am I interested in? And at the time, I just a couple of years prior rekindled my love for the Word of God and started living more correctly as a Christian than I was before. So I'm like, let's go to school, study the Bible. And I went to Liberty, started learning stuff the best I can from Liberty. And I was like, I got to tell people this. Like, get on Facebook and you see people's posts, Christian stuff out there in the world, and I'm like, that's wrong, that's wrong. They don't know what they're talking about. I don't know where they got that out. That's not in the Bible. And I'm like, I should go tell people the stuff I'm learning out of the Word, then maybe I could help somebody who doesn't, who's getting their doctrine and their theology from the internet and from a bunch of idiots who don't know no better. So I did that. And on top of that, I had this appetite for Bible. I just wanted to hear teaching and stuff like that. So I was looking for whatever I could find, and I found John MacArthur, R.C. Sproul, David Jeremiah, all the big names that you come across when you're looking for stuff like that. The algorithms show it to you. So, I'm listening to MacArthur and Sproul and all that. And, the more you listen to that stuff, the more they show you other stuff like it. And I'm sitting there listening to it like, they ain't really like me. As far as what they believe in the Bible. They're not really my stripe, as you could say. Sorry about the camera. Coco is trying to get in this chair. Come on, you can have that half. So, they're Calvinists. They're not King James Bible believers. But it was all I could find at the time. So, I figured if I couldn't find the content that I was looking for, I'll just make it myself. So I started Gospel Overgimmicks. Started out, made a couple videos on Facebook, And a friend of mine said, hey, you should get on YouTube. So I made a YouTube channel. And then I got into podcasts and I made a podcast. And then that got overwhelming, so we combined them together into a YouTube channel and a podcast. Uh, and it's still amazing to me what God has done with it. You know, it's been 7.5 years since we started, uh, since I started making videos. And many people have reached out telling me, you know, they've gotten back into church. You know, we were out of church and started going to church again because of watching your videos, and you know, got a simple way of explaining these Bible teachings in a way we can understand. People that have gotten back into reading their Bible from watching the channel over the years. And it's amazing to me how God can use some skinny little dude in Florida to make an impact on somebody's life. Heck, I was single when I started this. I remember one of the first videos I ever did was about being a single Christian, like an actual, because that's what the video was about. Oh, sorry about that. This microphone, I'm not in love with it. But, you know, when you're single and you're actually living for God, you meet so many other women out there who say that they're a Christian too, but as soon as they find out that you're actually living for God, or, you know, at least making an attempt at it, all of a sudden they're not interested anymore. Oh, we didn't want that much. I wanted, like, you know, a Christian guy who, you know, maybe reads his Bible every once in a while. Maybe he goes to church. Oh, I didn't want one that's actually, you know, living the Christian life. Anyway, that's getting off on a tangent there. But like I said, I was single when I made this channel, and now I'm married. And granted, me and my wife are not together at the moment, but I feel like, you know, God's going to put that back together. Uh, but a lot of things have changed in the last couple of years. When I first started the gospelovergimmicks, I was at Liberty, and I ended up stopping going there after 4 years. Like, I was only like 10 credits away from graduating. I don't know how much it was, but I was just absolutely sick of that school. And here, I come here to learn Bible. Here's a math class. Here's an English class. I didn't come here to learn that. I came here to learn Bible. So I left there and went to an actual Bible institute. Graduated with my bachelor's. Uh, and, you know, a lot's changed since then in my life. God's blessed me. He's not only blessed me, he's blessed the channel. We're almost up to 500 subscribers on the channel. And that's, you know, it should be a lot higher than that. But like I said, I don't promote. I don't ever promote it. But I know some of y'all do, and I appreciate that. But over the last, I don't know if it's been a year, probably about a year. Y'all know I've been separated from my wife for about a year. And this whole announcement hasn't got nothing to do with that per se. But it kind of does a little bit. And when I first was separated from my wife, one of the advice I seemed to get from a lot of places was that you need to get back into doing what it is you love to do. So I was like, because I wasn't doing the podcast at that time for reasons. And so I did. I'm like, well, I'm going to start doing the podcast then. So I started doing it again, not as frequently, but we started doing it again. And it was good for a while, but I just couldn't find motivation to get into it. And I started thinking that God was calling me to do something else. Like, not from what I'm like, not get off YouTube and stuff like that, but just take it in a different direction. So I want to take this episode and explain why I have decided to end the podcast as it is. now. Right off the bat, I want to say I'm not going anywhere as far as YouTube is concerned. Like this, I'm not deleting my channel. Calm down. Not deleting my channel or getting off YouTube. I'm not going to stop making content, stuff like that. We're just going to take things in a different direction. We're going to end Gospel Over Gimmicks as what it is. The podcast part will be going away. And I want to shift my focus to something else, like a different format, you could say. But part of the reason I'm getting rid of the podcast part is because what's that saying I've heard somebody say? If you try to do two things very well, you'll end up not. If you try to do two things, you'll end up doing neither of them very well, or something like that is the saying. But whenever I sit down to edit, like I've already cut down on my editing for the podcast part. But when I sit down to edit, I have to edit the video and get that done. And then I have to edit the podcast part and get that done. So I just want to cut that part out. And another reason, we'll get to it in a minute, is time. Time. Well, like I said, let me give y'all 3 reasons why we're making some changes around here. Like I said, when I first started, I couldn't find many King James Bible believing channels to watch. But that is not the case anymore. There's several people who have started up channels since I started that do a really good job at this kind of stuff that I'm already doing. Probably an even better job than what I do. You got Brother Roy Bell over at Old School Bible Baptist. You got Hensley. He does his stuff. I'll never get this name right. Honorato Diamante. I don't know if I'm saying that right. But I don't agree with all his stuff, but for the most part, it's good. You got King James Radio Network, or I can't remember. The guy that shares my videos all the time. I think his last name is Reynolds. See, if I was sitting in front of my computer, I'd know all this stuff. But he does good stuff. All kinds of stuff out there on YouTube doing the same kind of stuff. Probably better than Gospel Over Gimmicks does. On the podcast side, you got like Theology Roundtable, which I'm not sure they're around anymore. Because I went to look them up on my phone the other day on Spotify, and it didn't look like they deleted it, but I'm not sure. 1611 Defense, Fundamental Baptist Podcast, Unmovable Podcast, Rightly Dividing Podcast. Like my granny always says, there's a slew of them. There's a slew of them. So I'm not, by changing, my direction that the channel is in, like, I'm not creating a vacuum, like, oh no, now there's no one out here teaching sound King James dispensational Bible doctrine. Like, yeah, there are. There's several people that were not around when I started who are around now making content. So there's plenty of stuff out there. I'm not, leaving the place worse than when I found it. Over the last 7.5 years, I've focused on teaching doctrine because so many people, like I said, even Christians, they don't know it. They do not know it. Now, I kind of want to focus on reaching people that aren't looking for God, let alone doctrine. Let's face it, most of y'all who come to my channel, y'all are Christians. Y'all are Bible-believing Christians who come here, to hear teaching on doctrine and stuff like that. Most people coming to my channel are not lost people who don't know Jesus. And, that's fine. Like, there's definitely a need for Christians who are looking for Bible teaching. There's definitely a need for them to find that. Sunday school once a week is good, but if you want more, You're going to have to go out there and look for it. So I kind of want to focus on reaching people that aren't necessarily, they're not looking for doctrine, that's for sure, because they're not even looking for God. So I want to see if I can reach some people like that, or maybe just encourage some people with what I do. Number two, another reason is that desk right there. And this is where I talk about time and the podcast, the actual podcast part. In order to make this podcast, I have to spend hours sitting at that desk, studying out the material, making the notes, because I'm not just going to come, open the Bible, and start spewing stuff that comes to mind at you. Like, that's mostly my opinion. Like, I'm going to get in the Bible, I'm going to check sources, I'm going to run references, all this stuff to make sure that I'm not, messed up. Make sure I'm giving you the best stuff possible. That takes hours of putting time aside to sit at my desk and write these notes. Then on top of that, you got to record it. And actually recording it is the least amount of time. Like, I can see my timer from here, I'm at 22 minutes, and I plan on going like another 10. But when I go to edit it, it's going to take longer than 30 minutes, I can tell you that. So I have to spend hours researching, then I got to record it, then I got to spend hours, like I said, editing the video, getting a thumbnail ready. And I've made a video in the past on behind the scenes of how I make this. Doing the audio, uploading it. My internet's not the greatest, so that takes some time. So it's a lot of work that goes into making it, and the work ain't the problem. The problem is how much time I spend sitting at that desk right there. I've already said this before, but part of the reason my wife is not here is because I was constantly sitting at that desk. She'd want to spend time together, and I'd be like, no, I got to finish this podcast. No, I've got to finish this Sunday school lesson. No, I've got to finish this school notes, these classes I'm taking for school. My answer was always no. She want to watch the movie. Oh, I can't. I got to finish this. Or she'd be like, hey, let's go out to eat. I can't. I got to finish this. My excuse always revolved around that desk and how I couldn't get away from it. I couldn't leave it because I always got something to do. So I'm not entirely sure what the channel is going to become, but by being exclusive to YouTube and not, an audio type thing where I got to sit in front of a microphone or whatnot, I can record wherever. Like, I don't have to be at this desk. I can record a YouTube video anywhere. So that'll be nice. It'll give me that kind of freedom to just record outside if I want to, not be bound to a desk. I'm not 100% sure what the channel is going to become. I've been thinking about different things. Like, I want to do automotive content. Y'all know I like cars. If y'all remember when we lived at the old house, sometimes I'd record the podcast in the garage, and you can see my Project Ranger behind me. I got stuff I want to do to my truck. I might sell a Ranger, I'm not sure. I got another F-150. I'd kind of like to do some work on that. And I figured maybe I can, because that's what I mainly watch on YouTube, is automotive content. But there's not a lot of people doing it that are Christians. Like, you got Restoration, he is, and Dylan McCool kind of is a little bit. But for the most part, there's nobody incorporating the gospel into that stuff. And like, I'm thinking to myself, like, I like doing it. If I could find a way to incorporate the gospel in it, then people who don't normally hear the gospel might tune in because, oh, he's working on an old truck today, and they can get the gospel, or they can get some kind of encouragement, something from the Bible that they didn't expect to get. Whereas, you come to my channel now, you expect to get Bible teaching. That's what you're going to get. But, so I'm thinking about doing something like that, an automotive channel with a gospel twist. That's really what I'm leaning on. I kind of already got a name in mind. But I got time to figure it out because we're going to do one more season from now until December. And that'll be the final season of the podcast. And I'm keeping this channel. I'm just going to change the name. So be aware of that. Let's get to my number 3 reason. Engagement. Like I said, I've never been good at promoting this podcast. That in itself takes more time that I don't have. And I know I haven't been as consistent in the last year as I was previously, but engagement has really dropped off in the last year. There's a couple people I can always count on to comment and interact, like Gypsy and Brad, and I can't remember the one lady's name, Amp something. Forgive me, YouTube channel names and whatnot. But those people I can always count on to comment, but there used to be, 10, 15 comments on a video, and now I'm lucky to get 1. So engagement has really dropped off lately. So it is what it is. I think that's all part of God telling me, hey, time for you to try something else. Time for you, I got something else I want you to go do. Like I said, more than enough people are making YouTube content now like what I do. So if I go away, you can still get it from them. I need to break away from that desk. I need to get out and enjoy, life instead of being stuck at that desk all the time. And, my wife is not to the point where she's ready to hang out with me on a regular basis. But when she gets to that point, boy, I ain't gonna be tied at this desk. I'll tell you that right now. So it'll give me freedom to get out and do that, do whatever I want outside, record anywhere, and I'll be able to reach people that maybe I couldn't reach before, and share the gospel with them. So if you like me for some reason, I'm staying on YouTube, if that makes you excited. I don't know if it does or not. And we're going to explore some new territory with a new channel, and I'll try to keep it entertaining. I don't know if I'm entertaining now, but, some of y'all have been around since the beginning, so I must be a little bit entertaining. If you're not interested in the new content, like I said, we're going to change the name of the channel. We're going to focus on something else. So if you feel the need to unsubscribe, I will not, no hard feelings. I understand completely. Trust me, I've done it before. I've had channels that I followed change their format and whatnot, and I'm like, no, I'm not into that, and left. So not going to be mad if you leave. But the new content, the new channel probably won't start until January. So if you want to unsubscribe after this season, no hard feelings. But whenever the new content starts, whenever the new channel begins, it'll still be Christian content. I'm not going to be cussing or, being worldly and all that. Well, I'm working on my truck, so I might get a little frustrated, but it'll be clean. It won't be worldly stuff, and it'll be Christian stuff. So no worries there. We're not going all crazy over here. Just want to step away from what I've been doing and try something else. Not that I hate it, but I love teaching Bible to people and helping people understand the Bible better. But I don't want to say burnout because I hate it when people use the word burnout. It's just the the passion I had for it ain't what it used to be. Between, people just Christians will argue about anything. It's just ridiculous. Semantic stuff. That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when Christians argue semantics. I said this, you said that. It's the exact same thing, but you worded it differently, so we're going to argue about it. Look, Christians argue about the dumbest stuff. And if they're not arguing about stuff, they're trying to expose the government. I was talking to a guy on Facebook about this the other day. Christians are so busy posting every conspiracy theory they can think of to wake people up or expose the government. Not a single one of them is exposing anyone to the gospel. They spend more time worried about what Joe Biden is doing than they do about sharing Christ with people. So I definitely don't want to become one of them. But anyway, I'm kind of rambling at this point. I do not know how this video is going to turn out once I edit it, because this is like a whole new thing I'm trying sitting in the chair here. It is a really comfortable chair though. And we'll see how this microphone sounds when I edit it. Hopefully I can edit it in a way that y'all can hear it. But I appreciate y'all watching. I'm not going to promote the Patreon or the website or anything, because obviously all that's going to go away at some point. And so I'm not going to promote anything. I'm just going to tell y'all that I appreciate y'all 7.5 years. It'll be almost 8 by the time we're done. Y'all, I know some of y'all ain't been here the whole time, but some of y'all have. And you've seen me go from recording videos on my lunch break with no editing, just me and the phone on my lunch break when I worked at Tom Bush, to now I got this whole setup and we edit things and try to polish them up all nice and pretty for y'all. So things have changed, things have improved over the last couple of years, and I'm going to take my focus and put it on something else and see how many people we can reach for Jesus doing it that way. But I appreciate y'all sitting through this video. If you did, I appreciate it. I hope you stick around for season 11. We're going to do some interesting topics, I'm sure, because we always do. But I hope y'all enjoy the season we got coming, and I hope some of y'all will stick around to see what new things we're going to be doing in the future. Till next time, take up your cross, carry on.